Hi, welcome back to my YouTube channel. So as promised, I did want to do some different types of videos. I know I've been doing a lot of collections, a lot of polish pickup, hella handmade creations. So I just wanted to take a departure from that and to get into some things that I also enjoy, which is nail art. So I'm going to be doing some nail stamping today, and the theme is going to be my neighbor Totoro. So I'm going to be linking all the products that I'm using in the description below, just in case you're interested in that. But I don't know if anybody here is not familiar with My Neighbor Totoro, but that is a film from Studio Ghibli, directed by Hayao Miyazaki. I hope I said his name right. I don't know about anybody else, but I am a huge Studio Ghibli fan, most especially of Hayao Miyazaki films. And this is actually one of the films I saw maybe a couple years ago, but my favorite is probably, gosh, I don't know how to pick a favorite from Hayao Miyazaki. Well, I guess I should say the one that I saw the first is Princess Mononoke. That's kind of what started my love of Hayao Miyazaki, and then like Spirited Away. But anyway, so we're going to be doing some nail stamping today. And to start with, I am going to be using the Holo Taco Peely base because I want to peel this off as well. So first off, I am going to be doing a few coats of a base color. I'm choosing white because I really want this stamp to show, and Totoro is, he's sort of different shades of gray. So I'm just going to be using a nice white base, and I'm going to be doing 3 coats of this base just for full opacity before we get into the stamps themselves. The stamping plate that I'm going to be using today is from Munos de Unos. So if you have never heard of them, 100% check them out. They're probably one of the few companies that I can think of offhand that sells like licensed stamps. And by that I mean Disney, Marvel, Nickelodeon, anime. They have a really broad range of a lot of different types of stamps, and I can't think of any other company offhand that does licensed stamps like this. You know what I mean? Like I have Maniology, but Maniology doesn't do like Disney brands or anything like that. So if you are, if you've never heard of this brand and you want to check out any of those stamps for any of those companies that I mentioned, they are fantastic. They have an incredible range of stamps. So the shipping time does take a while because it comes from Mexico, but you know, that's to be expected, but definitely check them out. Now on to the stamping process. So I'm going to be using the black stamping polish from Maniology, which is my favorite, and then most of my stampers are from Maniology as well. I think I'll have a couple from What's Up Nail as well. So usually what I like to do is I like to stamp everything out. So I have like a lot of stampers. I have like maybe 7 to 10 stampers. So I stamp everything out, and then I like to do reverse stamping. I feel like there's a couple different ways to do this. I know some people like to make a decal and then put the decal on their nails. Me personally, I like to stamp everything out, and then I like to fill in the stamp on the actual stamper, and then I apply a really thin like Bonder base coat, and then I just put the stamp on my nails. That's what I like to do. I feel like that's what works for me the best. So we have 5 different designs that we've got going on, and then we're gonna start filling them in. And just like I said, Totoro is gray, so I tend to like to keep it really simple. Excuse me, when it comes to filling in the stamps. You can fill these in a couple different ways. Like you can use nail art brushes, you can use Dotacure tools. I feel like for me it depends on like the size of the stamp and like what I'm going for and like what colors I'm using. So in this case I'm really only using like one main gray color, so I'm just using a really small and a thin nail art brush to fill that in. I also do it very delicately, so I just want to sort of delicately fill in the space, and that's all I like to do. and we're going to repeat that process with all the stamps that I use. And like I said, you can vary the tools that you want to use based on the effects. Like I think sometimes using like a really small dotting tool is really great if you're filling in a small area with like multiple colors. Like let's say you were doing something like stained glass or something like that. But sometimes dot cure tools can like pick up the actual outline of the stamp as well, so you kind of have to be careful. So I like nail art brushes, but they only go so thin, you know what I mean? Like they only go so small, which is why they can be a little tricky sometimes when you're trying to fill in things that are really, really small. But again, I wanted to be super simple with this. I mean, I could have done like filling in the eyes with white and things like that, but I was just going for simplicity. I didn't want to get too complicated, which is why I'm using like the same gray color across all the stamps that I'm going to be using today. All right, now all of my stamps have been filled in, so we are going with my last step, which is actually applying the stamps. So what I typically do is I've already had my base color on, so it's already dry, and I put on a very thin bonder base. There's a couple different brands that I use, but I'd have to say like Orly is my favorite for this purpose. It's just a really thin layer of a sticky sort of bonded base coat. And I let that dry for about 60 seconds, and then I go and I do my stamps. I like to do my stamps like in a rolling motion, so I tend to like to roll from right to left because I'm painting my left hand. So I just like to roll, and I always do my stamps facing away from me because, you know, when you bend your nails, you want it to be facing the camera, if that makes sense. So like this would not be facing towards me. Like if I'm looking at my nails, it would be upside down. But for the purposes of like taking a picture, it's perfectly what I wanted. And I know some people like to do like a liquid latex around the edges, but I like to just go in there with a really good sharp cleanup brush and just clean up the edges. So that big red blob is supposed to be an umbrella, by the way. But yeah, I just like to go in there and clean up the edges before I throw on a top coat. So we're gonna stamp it all out, and then we'll top coat it and get it shiny for the finish. And now I'm just gonna throw on a super fast drying top coat and we'll be good to go. I will say when it comes to stamping, I never feel like I wait long enough for the for the stamp to dry before I apply the top coat. I feel like I'm a little impatient. So like what I try to do is I just try to use a really quick drying top coat and I just try to apply it like swipe. Because I've waited for like 20-30 minutes sometimes and it still smudges. So I think it just depends on like the motion that you're using. Like if you're doing long strokes, then it tends to bleed. But if you're doing like really quick strokes, you might be able to get away with it. And that's what I try to go with these days. So if you're interested in seeing a full swatch of this, check out my IG. I do throw up swatches of everything that I do on my YouTube, on my Instagram as well. And if you did like this video, go ahead and give it a like. And if you're interested in seeing more videos like this from me, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Thank you so much for watching. Catch you later. Bye.